Hello, everybody. Oh, I'm too close. Hi, everyone. Hey, stand by just a minute, please, so I can just get the text set up on the back end. Okay, beautiful. Okay, bear with me 1 minute, everybody. It's so exciting to be here. All righty, I'm live. Okay, I'll just wait for a few moments for people to start joining. I'm going to pop over here. Let me get myself sorted. Hello, Tracy. So great to see you here. How are you, my love? Let me know in the comments. As you're joining, please say hi so that I know that you're here. I would love to hear as well where in the world you're joining me from. I'm in Newcastle in Australia, 2 hours north of Sydney if you are not an Australian. And I want to hear where you guys are from. So please let me know as we just wait for some people to join. We've got 3 people here. Beautiful. I know there's going to be a few of us catching the replays of an evening. We've got people in Europe and people in other parts of the world for whom this particular time doesn't necessarily suit. So absolutely, you're most welcome to watch the replays. I'll just quickly let you know the replays will be available for 1 week after the festival concludes. So if you wanted to catch the replays, please prioritize doing that in the week following. And then I'm going to be taking them down and I'm going to be multi-purposing them. All righty. Okay, so we're here at the Writers Festival. Super, super, super awesome to have everyone here. Hello, Claire. Great to see you, gorgeous. I'll just tag, see if I can tag everyone in the comments. No, I can't. Okay, I can't do that. Anyway, we'll have people joining, dropping in and out. Hey, Kirsty, lovely lady. Let us know where you're joining us from, please. Before we kick off officially, I wanted to do a little introduction. I know that there's lots of new names in here, people I have never met before. So if that is true, if you're new to my world, can you please pop that in the comments? Say, I'm new to you, so that I can see that you're here and I can just, I want to do a little bit of sussing out. I want to get to know you more. So I might pop over to your Facebook profile. I might have a little bit of a peruse of your online presence just so I can get to know you guys a bit more. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Tash Ashman, and I do lots of different things inside my business. I have lots of different hats that I wear. One of the major hats is as publisher and writer. So I'm the CEO and founder of Ashman Publishing, which is a little boutique indie publish. I shouldn't say little because it's not little. It's like a little mindset thing I need to rewire. A beautiful publishing company that supports soulful entrepreneurs to share their story and learn how to become published in a way that is easy and fun and doesn't necessarily come with all of the additional pressure that publishing can come with. So I've been in publishing now for nearly 3 years. I've been published personally in 7 books, and I myself have published 4. We have a number of different titles coming out next year, which I'm going to be sharing some more with you about over the following 5 days. But yeah, writing for me is something that is so deeply in my blood. I have always been a writer. I've always been someone who puts pen to paper. I've always been quite a deep thinker. And I have found great solace in my thoughts and in my capacity to translate my thoughts onto the page, in my capacity to create through my words. And why I'm so passionate about it is because, hello, Erin, great to see you here, my love. Why I'm so passionate about it is because we actually don't understand or even really comprehend the power of our words, the power of our words. Whether it is spoken, whether it is written, our words hold great power. And I love the phrase, words create worlds. So the words that you speak, the words that you think, the words that you write, have an incredibly powerful impact on the world that you live inside of and the world that you create around you. So we're going to be exploring this theme a little bit as we traverse some very curious ground together. It's not going to be a typical writing festival like you may have attended, like the Sydney Writers Festival. They're like interviewing all of these different authors, or I went to a beautiful one down in Ulladulla around wintertime earlier in the year. It was beautiful, but this is going to be quite different. This is going to be very focused on how do we identify as being a writer? How do we embody the identity and the tools and the mindset and the energetics and the confidence and the belief systems of someone who is a writer, of someone who regularly writes How do we do that? Why would we want to do that? So for me, words also cast spells. That's exactly right. Hello, Tanya, beautiful lady, welcome. Our words are so powerful. They truly are. So as we explore this 5 days together, we're going to be really entering into we're going to be traversing some curious ground. My work covers a lot of different territories, you could say. As a publisher, as a business strategist, as a hypnotherapist and a kinesiologist, as a body worker, as a Chinese medicine, oriental therapies practitioner, I do lots and lots of different things inside of my business. And for me, the one thing that's kind of been the glue that brings everything together has been my creativity and my journey with learning how to express myself creatively. Like I said, I've always been someone who wrote, someone who was filled journals, stacks of journals. I would write all the time, but I actually never saw myself as creative. Even though I would play the piano and I would be very theatrical, I just had this belief that I wasn't particularly creative and that other people were far more creative than me. And so unwinding that belief and looking at, well, why do I think that? Why do I think and believe that I'm not particularly creative? Unwinding this, like from my nervous system, from my subconscious, has been the game changer of game changers for me, particularly inside of my business, because I believe business is inherently creative, especially if you are creating your business in I guess let's look at the phrase from like a new earth perspective, right? Maybe you are rebelling against the old traditional ways of marketing and old ways of business building, and you're learning how to build business in a way that is easeful, that is graceful, that is light, that is enjoyable. For me, that is an incredibly creative place to live inside of. My offerings, my content, the book titles that I come up with, every aspect of my business is steeped in creativity. And my personal favorite expression of creativity is writing. Doesn't mean it's the only one. I love speaking, I love dancing, I love being creative in all sorts of different ways. But the one that like gives me some of the deepest clarity and inspires me so powerfully is the art and craft of writing for the soul. So we're exploring that today. And my intention is that over our 5 days together, you embody the identity of writer. You embody the identity of someone who prioritizes time with themselves, time with their thoughts, time with the intimate relationship that you have with your environment and your truth. So that's what we're going to be talking about. If you haven't yet said hello in the comments, please do so. If you're new to me, hashtag I'm new to you so that I know and I can kind of connect with you a little bit more deeply. If you have worked with me before, I know we have a few of our authors here. Please let us know in the comments as well. Let me know what book you contributed to. I'll share a little bit about the books that I publish because it is not your average publishing company that I run. So we specialize in anthology books, collaborative books. They also are called multi-author books, where we have a particular topic or a title, and we call out for people who may or may not yet be published. In fact, most of our authors are not published already, but desire to become published. We call out for authors and people to step forward and to write in response to a title. So the last book that we did, I have it right here, I'll show you so that you can see the beautiful Warriors of Light, Leaders of the Great Awakening. So this was a book that we published back in, oh my God, the year's been such a blur. I can't even remember what month we published it in. Kirsty, you're here. What month did we publish that book in? Because so much has happened in that time. Anyway, it was probably about 4 months ago that we published it. It must have been around September or August. I can't even remember now. So much has happened. But for me, whenever I enter into a new publishing project, it was in August. Thank you, my love. I see them as being crucibles of transformation. And the reason being that your words, your story, your creative inspiration, like everything comes up in response to the project. So if you deign to go on this journey with me, we're going to be exploring the realms, like descending down today into the body, down into the creative center, down to really stoke our creative fire. Tomorrow, we're going to be extending our awareness up and connecting in with our creative channel, connecting in with all of the various entities and energies and people that we can connect with to support our creative development and our creative flow. So I'm going to be kind of tackling the body today and like really opening up creative flow from the body. And then tomorrow we'll be going into the creative channel. Wednesday, as I have said, we're going to be having a co-writing alchemy session. That's going to be done live inside of my Zoom room. So I'll make sure that everyone has the link to that. And then Thursday and Friday will be right here on Facebook as well. So that's kind of just to orient your nervous systems to the flow of the festival. So as it is a festival, the energy is fun. The energy is uplifted. I would love to see you guys pop into the Facebook group and share as we go through the 5 days together. Share your insights, share your takeaways. And I really want to invite you to practice stepping into being seen with your creativity. And that often means showing up, right? Whether you want to actually go live and read something that you've written, and I highly encourage that, because you then have the experience of expressing through the voice and being witnessed inside of that expression. There's something very, very powerful about reading your own works. If you're not comfortable with that, then the next best step is to actually just share your works, share your writing inside the Facebook group. I will be, for the 5 days, I will be available to provide feedback, to provide, like light critiquing, or not even critiquing, that's not the word I want to use, but like, my opinion on where the piece could go, on how it might be able to be structured a little bit more powerfully, and the opportunity to really be seen in your creative experience, in your creative expression. So the identity of becoming a writer, I have my notes down here. If you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing. Hi, Tammy, great to have you here. So what does it take to step into the identity of being a writer, and to step into this part of you, to connect in with this version of you who writes for the love of it, who writes for the pleasure of it? And actually, that's the word I want to use, is pleasure. Someone who writes to capture the beauty inside of their thoughts, the beauty inside of their everyday lived experience. Someone who needs to, maybe it's not even about capturing beauty, maybe it's about unloading or unleashing, right? But the identity of someone who is a writer it's a powerful question. If you want to be a writer, first of all, why do you want to write? Why do you want to write? For me, as someone who's always put pen to paper, and yes, I go through phases, as I mentioned in my introduction video, where I do write more and I write less. And I've noticed that when I write less, I'm less creatively inspired, which means that I'm often not, like, it's harder to get things out there inside of my business. If I'm wanting to build up my momentum inside my business, one of the best things I've found that I can do is regularly, consistently journal and regularly and consistently write. Hi, Bronwyn, great to see you here. So as someone who may or may not resonate with the term writer, well, I'm sure you all resonate because you're all here. You might not necessarily have stepped into that identity. I want to ask you why. Why is it important to you? And I'd love for you to put the answer to that in the chat. So for me, it's important to me because as someone who tends to not be I'm not super visual. I'm very wordy. I can be quite a little bit heady sometimes. I've worked very hard to get back into my body. But for me, writing is a way of disentangling my thoughts and emotions. It's a way of releasing energy. Whenever I sit down and write, it's like an energy releases, and I can use what space is created by that release of energy to create really powerful and beautiful things. I also very much believe in the power of journaling for manifestation. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that on Wednesday through our alchemy process, and how powerfully our words can actually facilitate manifestation in our life. So it's an inherent part of my psyche, an inherent part of my world. I've always been a writer. I consider myself to be a wordsmith. And I love reading beautifully written words. Like someone who I read a lot of at the moment is Richard Rudd. I'm doing his amazing Gene Keys course at the moment, and it's blowing my mind. And he's a poet, right? The way that he writes is unbelievable. And whenever I'm reading his words, my partner always knows, because he'll hear me go, oh, I have this full full body reaction whenever I'm reading the Gene Keys book. It hits me. It hits me in my heart. It hits me in my sacral. It hits me everywhere, right? And so this is the power of, we're going to be talking a lot more about this on day 5, where we talk about writing for magnetism. But someone who's deeply embodied inside of their magnetic field will be able to transmit sensations through their words. So I want to know in the comments, please, why do you want to write? Why is it important to you? I can't not write, says Erin. Let me read. but it's always been for me. I'm really excited to step into a new identity of someone who writes with the intention of being seen and of purpose. I love that. I love that so much. So, you know, it really, you highlight here, Erin, the importance of the two things, right? First and foremost, I believe that your writing should always be for you, right? First and foremost, it should be for your love, for the love of words, for the love of expression, for the love of like translating a visceral felt experience into words, into prose, onto the page. And what we're going to be doing today, and I'm going to be inviting you to do tonight and today and tomorrow before our next session, is actually step into greater intimacy with yourself. Your connection to your writing is very much connected to the intimacy, the amount of intimacy you allow yourself, and particularly the amount of intimacy you allow with your truth, with your particular brand of truth, your particular frequency of truth. So everybody has a different frequency, right? Everyone has their own unique energy. Absolutely, wholeheartedly. There is no one with the same energetic signature as you out there on the planet. You are a unique, beautiful, unique person. Your energy is beautifully unique. Your thoughts, beautifully unique. The way you feel, beautifully unique. Even the way you think. So I'll give you a little example here. Hello, Amanda. Great to see you, darling. It was about 2 years ago that I found out that I have this very curious neurological wiring called antiphasia. What is antiphasia? Well, antiphasia stands for mind blindness. And it means that whenever I close my eyes and try and visualize, it's totally black. There's nothing there. And it's always been the case. Even though I've studied things like hypnotherapy and, you know, guided meditations, and I can facilitate them really beautifully, to receive them is really hard because I don't see in my mind's eye. When I found that out, that people actually close their eyes and see things, and it's not just conceptual, my mind was blown. I was so mind blown. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? People actually close their eyes and see an apple when you ask them to think about an apple. It's not just a concept. So I didn't know that. I had no idea because I was the only person inside of my head, right? And I hadn't really asked other people about what happens inside their head. And it was fascinating. It was like the most incredible like realization. I'd always thought my third eye was broken. I had that belief. My third eye's broken. I can't see. Actually, no, I'm just wired differently. As a result, you know, I have other senses that are more heightened. My body, right? For example, my feelings. So this is one of the reasons why writing for me is so important, because it's how I disentangle my thoughts. It's how I disentangle my creative expression, right? It's not a visual thing for me. It's very much in words and felt experience. And the only way we can really step into a greater connection with that is to give ourselves the gift of deepening in our intimacy with ourselves. So a lot of the work that I do with my clients, especially in the business coaching world, it's all about like being seen and being vulnerable enough, like being comfortable with vulnerability to share your truth, to share your insights, to share your story, right? That's an inner alchemical process that has to happen before we actually have sustainability with content creation and like ramping up the quality of the words that we are writing or the content that we're putting out there. If it doesn't feel if we don't have a relationship with vulnerability that is somewhat manageable, even if it might be filled with incredibly high sensation, if you can't sit in that and not allow it to completely throw you through the ringer, as we like to say here in Australia, I don't know if that's just an Australian term, then if we can't do that, we're not going to be sustainable in the way that we're being seen. The same thing is very true for writing. You really want to fortify an intimacy with yourself. And often when we are not writing a lot, I know this is true for me, if I'm going through a phase where I'm not writing a lot and I'm like very busy and there's other things going on and like I'm in some way, shape or form actually avoiding my writing practice, I know now that's a red flag for me to know that there's something else that I'm avoiding. Because usually when I sit down to write, I sort that out and I like come to a conclusion and there's like, I find a peace and a freedom within, right? So having intimacy with your own process, having intimacy with your creative flow, with the way upon which you connect with the world, right? And we're going to be exploring this. So how do we create deeper intimacy with ourselves? And then how do we translate that onto the page? This is all in the realms of igniting the creative fire. Your creative fire, the way that I intuit it, your creativity is equally a flame that is ignited from within the body and roars up through all of your energy centers. Very much so connecting into the sacral chakra, the sacral energy center, the womb space, right? I love the analogy of creation, of pregnancy when it comes to working with creativity, right? Because we very much gestate our creative works. They live inside of us very powerfully. We gestate our offers. We gestate our businesses. We gestate everything creative, just like we gestate our babies. And so the question that we're going to be working with as we connect back into the creative fire, as we learn how to stoke the creative fire of the body so that we can access creative inspiration, so that we can allow that to come up, to rise up through the systems, through the energy centers and out, whether it's out through our voice, out our hands. Tomorrow we're working with it the other way down. But today we're going to be accessing this here. So how willing are you to be in your body? How willing are you to reside in your womb and to bring all of your creative potential to call it back into that space? For a lot of the people that I work with, especially this is true if there's trauma that you've experienced in the past or that they've experienced in the past, being in the body can sometimes feel really unsafe. It can sometimes feel like if I go there, I'm going to be overloaded. I'm going to be overwhelmed. So what do? We disconnect, right? And then energetically, we just become little heads that float around. And actually, in many ways, that's kind of celebrated in the Western world, especially for women, because fully embodied women connected to their pussy, connected to their sacral fire, connected to their heart, connected to the fullest expression of their identity. Women speaking truth, like that's pretty powerful. And in the past, we were burned at the stake for that, yeah, or attacked for that. So I'm always very conscious when I do these kinds of practices, whether it's with writing, whether it's with visibility, whether it's with any of these sorts of things, to be trauma informed and to kind of have a little check-in here. Because anytime we're coming into the body, we want to make sure that we are coming in with a sense of safety. It might mean that there's work there to be done for you personally with a mentor or a therapist that can facilitate that safety for you within your body. But if you're not connected to your body, and if you're just kind of up here in your thoughts, you're actually missing out on a lot of the creative fire, on a lot of and not only that, but you're not able to ground your thoughts down into the earth, your ideas down into the earth. And as a result, they just stay ideas spinning round and round in your head. So if you've ever struggled with actually seeing something through to completion, with seeing out a project, like with really manifesting something all the way down from idea, concept, all the way down to 3D reality, I see my project manifested into form. If you've struggled with that, then often it's because the lower chakras are disconnected. You're not connected into the lower energy centers for various reasons beyond the scope of the Writing Festival to talk about that. But I just wanted to flag that. So the sacral, I want you all, as you're sitting or standing here, just to place your hands on your womb for a moment. You might even like to make a little like triangle, maybe with your thumbs connected over your belly button and your fingers connecting down to the womb. And I want for a moment for you to imagine the fire of creative inspiration that lives inside your womb. Deeply connected to your sexual fire, your sensual fire, deeply connected, creativity and sex or sexual energy are two sides to the same coin. And absolutely, your ability to connect in with your creativity and your creative fire, like we're talking fire here, is very much connected to your ability to feel turned on, whether that's sexually or not, to feel alive in your body, to feel like you are living. So how big or small is this creative flame for you? It might be a furnace that rages throughout your sacral and like expands all the way up into your blood. It might be a tiny little baby flame, like, you know, those gas heaters, like when they're turned off and there's still a tiny, tiny little flame. Maybe it's a tiny baby flame. Maybe you've been like I have been in the last few years, growing small children, raising small children, and feeling terribly overwhelmed, exhausted by the intensity of that. At the same time as building business and writing and, you know, having all of these big dreams and intentions. So just check in here, like how big or little is that creative flame inside of you? Can you connect with it? What is it that your womb space is gestating or desiring to gestate? I want you to ask yourself that question. What do you desire to gestate next? What is being birthed through you? What are you creating? Because everything begins here. So coming back to the space, opening up your eyes, and 2 questions I would love for you to answer. What does your creative fire or your creative flame feel like? Let me know in the comments so that I can hear. Does it feel like a furnace that's raging through your system? Or is it a tiny little baby flame that just needs to be stoked a little bit? And then the answer to the second question, what do you desire to create? What is being gestated within you? What is being birthed through you now? I would love for everyone live and catching the replay to share their answers. So Kirsty says, baby flame. Yeah, and I feel you, girl. I know you are. Where you are right now is where I was a year ago, maybe like 9 months ago, in terms of having small children. I mean, I still have small children, but you have a baby and a small child. And in that, there's often such like, it's intense. Life is so intense. Oh my God, with small children, life is so intense. But your creativity, your writing can actually be a beautiful way that you let go of some of that intensity. Put it down onto the page. Tracy says a flicker. Okay, a flicker. So it's like, it's there. The seed of potential is there. We just have to stoke it. And it's about getting back in touch with with the energy of inspiration. Baby flame, Tammy says, baby flame, I'm putting all my fire into sexuality. Beautiful. Okay, so that is going to have a very significant connection with your creativity. And the more we see like the inherent creativity inside of sexuality and the inherent sensual energy, sexual energy that's inside of creativity, there's such a connection there. So really working with that is going to be really powerful for you. Amanda says, burning circle flames nourished, surrounding my pelvis, strong, fierce, and ready to flow. It can feel like a whirlwind at times. I feel you there. I absolutely feel you there. Hey, Shay, a furnace, because I didn't complete things while my boys were small. I pushed it all away until later. Yeah. So you push it away until later. And it's like, that's the energy of needing things to come into completion, right? It's like the neurology behind that is very powerful. If there's things left incomplete, we can't close the loop, right? And so it still stays there, flickering, taking up energy inside of our system. Also writing the full moon and ovulation energies right now. Me too, sister, me too. Bronwyn, a slow, constant burn, being open to receiving their guidance for a space to work my craft. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So this is about creating intimacy here. Creating intimacy with your sacral, creating intimacy with your womb, recognizing that everything that you birth. Okay, that was the one question. The other question, what are you birthing? What's moving through you? What do you desire to create? It's all like one question into three. Tanya, intense heat, large flame, wanted to consume more, but is contained with a strong, cold, hard barrier. I'm going to be inviting you to write about this. I'll be circling back because that is very powerful for you to like feel into more. And that's really, really powerful insight there. A flickering flame, I can feel a breeze, so it feels like it's intensifying. Yeah. And like everything in life, what we give energy to, what we give attention to, we give energy to. So the more you focus here, I'm going to be sharing with you some like little fire practices that I like to do. I'll pop in later and I'll do a little live. I'm not going to do it now, to just share with you how to like get some of that energy moving through your system from the womb space, from the sacral up, right? And so the way this energy moves is it absolutely rises up through the centers, so up through the channel. So it moves from it connects into the earth through the root. It comes into the sacral, right, where we start to gestate. It moves up into the solar plexus, where we start to identify. Moves up into the heart, where we start to feel it. We start to feel it in our body, right? We start to connect to it. We start to bring love to it. It moves up into the throat, where we speak it or write it into existence. There's also the other way channel, the other way down. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. So your connection to your body, your connection to your thoughts, your connection to your emotions, your connection to your feelings. When we're talking about igniting the creative flame, we are absolutely talking about connection to our inner world, to our inner landscape, to the things that are happening inside of us. Are you willing to deepen your intimacy with yourself? Are you willing to take yourself further than you've gone before with your writing, with your capacity to be with your thoughts, to translate onto the page, to channel forth, right? Every time we're talking about writing, it's translation. We're moving a lived experience, a felt experience onto a page. We are translating it, right? That's why sometimes it can be so hard to find the right words, because it's like, how do I describe something that often like there's no words that can describe it? That's the challenge. That's the invitation. So if you think about a memory, an experience from the past, an experience where you're like, I don't think I could ever even begin to explain that. What the fuck just happened? I'll share it with you. I'll write it down and I'll pop it into the group. Yesterday, I found an old journal. And in the journal, I opened it up to a page and it was from 2017. And I was describing a shamanic journey, an ayahuasca journey that I'd done the night before. And it was like 8 pages worth of writing that I'd written. I'd completely forgotten about the insights. That's why it's so powerful to write, because I had forgotten about the insights and the profound experience that I had. It just kind of immersed itself into my body. But as I was writing, I was like, I don't even think I can put words to this. And yet I found the words. And as I read those words 5 years later, 6 years later, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 5 years later, as I read those words 5 years later, I reconnected to the feeling of being there the next day after having my mind blown by a plant medicine. And so my question to you is, can you connect with a time in your life where you feel like you can't find the words, or like it seems impossible to be able to find the words to describe your experience? And I'm going to be doing this with you. So our first little home play, I don't want to say homework, I don't like using that word. Home play is to write about an experience such as this. What was going on? For me, maybe I'll choose the birth of my son. The second one, for whom beautiful Amanda here was my doula. She was holding my hands as I birthed my baby. That's pretty special, Amanda, isn't it? how do we find the words for things that, for an experience that feels so big? Maybe it was another, it doesn't have to be like a big, beautiful experience. Maybe it was a devastating experience. Maybe it was the moment in life where everything crumbled around you. So I want you to find an experience like this and use your intuition. What's the first experience that comes to mind? Deeply honored. The first thing that comes to mind when you think about this, and these are the conditions. It was so profound. It moved you so deeply. It shook you to your core that you were left wondering, like, I don't have the words to explain, to describe this. And we're going to go there today. Well, over the next 24 hours. So my invitation to you is to write about it. Whether you put pen to paper or finger to keyboard, it doesn't matter. Everyone has a different experience with that. But my invitation is to recreate the moment, like put yourself back in that place. What was going on? What happened? What were you feeling inside your body? And often with these kinds of stories and creative writing practices, it can be very powerful to drop your reader into the middle of the story. So you don't necessarily need to start at the very beginning. Drop your reader into the middle of the experience and build the world up around them. Build what's happening up around them. I hope that makes sense. I would love for you to try and keep this under 1,000 words, if you can. I'm going to write this down and put it in as a little prompt. But what we're doing here is we are starting to find a language for ourselves, a language of communication and a language of translation. Hello, Christy. A language that we can use to describe the things that are happening to us and that we are experiencing, the thoughts that we're having. And maybe it's a bit ambitious to go with such a large thing, but this is what felt called to be shared with you. So a moment in time where you were so moved that you thought, or so like shaken or rocked to your core, where you were like, I don't have the words to describe this. And I want you to write that story. Except I want you to say to yourself, I do have the words. I can find the words. And if it feels frustrating for you, breathe into the frustration, allow it to be there, but continue with it. I can find the words to describe this experience in my life. Potentially, this is an experience that really changed your life, or an experience that put you on a different path, or an experience that rocked you to your core, and you're still feeling the reverberation of that experience now. When we go into our sacred storytelling day on day 4, we're going to be talking about this. We're going to be working with this even more. Okay, we're going to be working even more deeply. But I want to share with you before we wrap up. Yes, write about something I felt write about something I felt rocked to the core. Yes, or like moved to the core, or like something that you thought, I don't know if I have the words to describe this. And change the belief. I have the words to describe this. I will find the words to describe this. I can find the words to describe this. I want to share with you, often we think like to find creative inspiration, we need to, for me, I had this belief, like I was most creative when I was traveling around, when I was backpacking, traveling around the world. I spent a lot of time backpacking in my 20s before I had kids. And then I would like, whoa, I love that, Amanda. I'm a word witch. I love it. I love it. And I would just be consumed with creativity, short stories, novels, poetry, it would pour through me. Because I was in these new environments, I was in these fabulous, exciting experiences. I was many times traveling on my own. So what I would do, I would be like, okay, I don't know anyone here. I'm going to order a beer at the local bar, and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write. And that's how I would meet lots of people. People would come up to me and be like, hey, what are you doing? But then I kind of identified with that belief that if I wasn't doing something really fun and like inspiring, then there wasn't much creativity to be found around me. And so I stopped writing. I stopped doing my daily morning pages, my daily journaling. I stopped describing my life, like writing about my life. And I really feel sad about that, because I feel like when I write and I go back to read what I've written, it's like it immortalizes my experiences, especially when we have little children or life is really overwhelming and intense. It's very easy to forget, to find the fog, right? And we forget about the everyday things, the fog lands, and we're like, what happened for the last year? I don't know. Capturing it through words, it immortalizes it. You can go back and reread that at any time you like. And so my invitation to you is to recognize and to find the sacred inspiration in the mundane. The sacred inspiration in the mundane, everyday lived experience. Can you recognize that you are surrounded by inspiration every single minute of the day? Often, though, if you're not connected to your body, if you're not moving your body, and you're living up here, it's very easy to just be a bouncing ball that goes round and round and round inside of your head, right? We just frenetic, anxious energy. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't get anything done. It doesn't release. When we can come back into the body, into the safety of the body, we are so much more likely to be inspired. You're so much more likely to find the creative, sacred inspiration in the everyday. So I made it my thing, the thing that I worked through in 2022. It was my motto, I guess, my motto for 2022, because I'd had a year of small children, new baby, life is fucking hard, life is really intense. And I kind of developed a bit of a belief that it was boring. I was like, I'm just changing nappies all day and I'm sitting around rocking my baby all day. I was like, I want more creative inspiration, I guess. I've always yearned. I'm not someone who could be a stay-at-home mum, and I have so much respect for those women who can do that, but that's not me. I love my children and I love to be creative in other areas as well. And I love being creative with my children too, don't get me wrong. So I got into a bit of a mental loop with this, right? Like my life is so different now. And so at the beginning of 2022, I made the decision to seek out the sacredness in my everyday experience, the sacredness inside of the mundane. And I want to bring this into you here. I want to introduce you to this concept, or reintroduce you to this concept, that every single experience you have with your partner, with yourself, with your children, with your garden, with your animals, with the beach, with the ocean, with the clouds, with the trees, with your thoughts and feelings, is creative fuel. And we just have to look at little children, little toddlers. I'm around one all the time. And he's finding inspiration everywhere. He's so present in the moment with everything. Whatever he's doing, he's immersed in it. It consumes his body. Sometimes it's so much for him that he just is like, he's got so much fire there. So can you find that? Can you reconnect with that, like inner toddler, right? Even that little person who's like, this world is amazing. Look at these flowers. Look at those trees. Look at this, be present in the moment. And there's the 4 Ps that I have that I want to share with you that's going to be an anchor to anchor you back into this mindset. Prioritize, play, pleasure, and presence. Prioritize, play, pleasure, and presence. And these 4 Ps are the 4 Ps that are going to so powerfully support you to reconnect with your creative inspiration. It needs to be fun. You want it to be fun. You don't want to sit down like, I've got to sit down and do my daily writing. It needs to feel pleasurable, and you need to allow pleasure into your body. Like, it's one of the best things. If I'm feeling creatively blocked, I'm like to my partner, honey, let's get in there. I've got to move some energy. You know what we got to do now? I'm like, okay. And presence with the everyday, like presence with the moment, presence with the mundane, presence with your thoughts, presence Can you be present? Don't just be a head that just like exists like this, right? Present with your body. So I'm going to have a little look. Dance party. Yeah, move your body, move your body, move your body. Allow it to move through. I'm just going to have a quick look here because we are coming to the end. I wish I could remember more. I'll try. I didn't write straight after these huge things. Yeah. So yeah, like, and that's a beautiful reason to want to identify as being a writer, to embody the identity of being a writer, to capture these moments before they are like gone to the fog of intent, of overwhelm or intensity, right? Capture the moments of your life. I've always wanted to write my birth story. Okay, of stories. Yes. Okay, Kirsty, maybe this could be a beautiful space for you to write that, or to at least open up that channel. Me too. Absolute proof of magic and eternal soul. I love that. Such a powerful experience and deep unraveling of our learnings. Oh yeah, Amanda, this is your medicine, 100%. Hi, Kirsty, I said hello. Hi, Mona, you're here. I'm a word witch. I have the words will find me. That's so huge. I used to write all the time. Now it's just the to-do lists. Let's be honest. We've all been there, and I know that very well. Need more toddler moments. Yeah. So let's reinvigorate this, like reconnection. It all begins and ends here. So we are at 50 minutes in. Thank you so much for being with me today for the day one of the Writers Festival. I hope you are filled with some inspiration. I hope you are inspired. I trust that you are inspired to put pen to paper or finger to keyboard. I will pop back into the group once I'm finished here with the prompt for today. It's a big one. We're starting deep. We're going in deep. There's no dancing around the edges here. And my invitation is for you to either go live and read your work, or to share it with the group. And that really, there's great medicine in being witnessed. You don't need to, of course, if you feel like you want to keep it private for you. However, there is such powerful medicine in being seen in your vulnerability, being seen in your intimacy with yourself and your experience. I will see you here tomorrow. I think it's 1 o'clock. I should have that already teed up. Let's see. It's 10 a.m. Don't get me wrong. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. For day 2. It's been a pleasure. I'm super excited to be sharing more of this gold with you over the coming week. And yeah, don't forget to introduce yourself to the group. Alrighty, my loves, take care. See you now.